Hey, good afternoon or good evening, Williams. How are you?
Fine, and you? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
That's great.
All right.
Am I on the phone?
Yeah, you're on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're on. I can hear you. Hi, Jess.
Hey, Annabelle.
All right. Well, we'll get it started. And as people come in, I'll just let them in. Give me a quick second. All right. Well, we'll get started. And if you have any questions, William, you kind of know the drill. Please go ahead and, stop me, raise your hand, just let me know, and I'd be more than happy to stop and answer your question. But anyway, welcome to the call. And just as a reminder, I am Annabelle Pacheco. I am part of eXp Realty, and I'm an investor and a real estate broker. I've been in business for 24 years. And really the goal here is to share with you each week in detail the 8 steps that I took in purchasing my first multifamily deal, in hopes that you guys will also be able to do the same. I just want to make sure that I disclose up front that I'm not selling anything and I'm not offering anything. I'm also not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing my story with you in hopes that you guys can use this platform and share information with each other and learn from each other. And it's pretty much what we've been doing for the last few weeks or months. So just continuing. I started my career in the mortgage industry back in the mid-90s. I did purchase over 100 properties throughout my career. We did a lot of rehabbing. We did flip. We built from ground up. We also managed a small, I would say 4 units was probably the max, and then that we managed at that time, and single family residences. But it wasn't anything close to where I'm at today, but it was just constant, I would say more on the rehab and flip. In 2001, we deviated from real estate, built a 150 capacity restaurant from ground up. That was really tough. That was really, really tough. We had a staff of about 15 people, including managers, chefs, and servers. Had the restaurant for about 8 years. That's how long it took to actually build. Not only build it to open the doors, but build it, establishing a clientele and annual revenue that made financial sense for anyone who wanted to purchase it. Anyway, did that for about 8 years. And then when I turned over the keys, felt a sense of relief and decided to just go back to what my original main focus was, which is real estate. And that's all I have been doing for the last 11 years. I mean, I've been in business 20 some years, but the last 11 years have now been 100% representing clients in residential and commercial real estate. Now, I purchased my first multifamily deal in 2015. So I've had that property for about 6 years now. And when we purchased that property, we were really trying to find we're just trying to find a way to create cash flow and at the same time generational wealth. And I think many of you on this call probably, I mean, this is a topic that maybe I would say 100% of the time is something that we're all thinking about, right? Like, how do we make our money work for us? And here are the reasons why I invested in multifamily. And you know what? I hope I inspire you guys to do the same thing. Number one was I was really truly looking for cash flow, right? I want to put my money somewhere where it's going to give me each month, it's going to give me a good return. And just very simple math, cash flow is determined by your rental income minus all of your expenses, give you your cash flow. Number two was the loan pay down. You know, what an opportunity to own property and have tenants pay it off, pay that loan down. That was just something that, you know what, was like a bonus. Number three was appreciation, right? We're buying a property in hopes that over the long run that it's going to appreciate, and you're doing all the right math, right? Making sure that it's cash flowing and allowing that time and the market to for this property to appreciate. And then obviously there's tax benefits, right? The depreciation, you are able to depreciate this, you're able to expense a portion of the physical structure each year from your taxes. And then the 1031 exchange, which allows you to defer the capital gain taxes. And there's no limit to doing this. So if you find another property, I mean, I haven't, I purchased mine 6 years ago. I've had it these 6 years. It's done great. And really there hasn't been really an opportunity for me to exchange it. I have been thinking about doing something, but I don't know. I don't find anything out there right now that makes financial sense for me. So I'm just going to give you guys a little rundown on or just an example of the property that I purchased and where it's at today. So it's a value add multifamily. I don't know if many of you on this call know what a value add is. Do you? Does anyone know what a value add is? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You want to share what's
Yeah.
value add? You guys
Go
there?
for it.
Well, value add means you're buying a property, and by doing something, you're going to make it more valuable by more than your cost of the transaction.
Correct. Exactly. So I knew when I purchased this property, based on the condition of the property, based on the current rents that they were collecting, based on I would say the types of tenants that were there, because you really can see all of this. I knew that it was a value add opportunity. I knew coming in, I had that mentality of, all right, new sheriff in town, we're cleaning this place up. And that's really the mentality I had. So this is a property that we purchased at $850,000. It was 34 doors in Grand Prairie, Texas. The beauty of all of this is that when I found the property, it was the owner who happened to be a real estate agent, and I am the buyer who happened to be a real estate agent. And you know what? We connected and we pretty much negotiated on our own, right? We negotiated and we made this deal happen. I had asked if they would be interested in financing or carrying a note for 2 years for the remaining balance, and he agreed. He was going to be making more money. I guarantee you, he was going to make more money from collecting that from lending me those $500,000 than he was in the current condition that this property was at. I mean, it was just terrible. It was really, he just wasn't taking care of the property. So anyway, he did give us a note for 2 years. That allowed us, those 2 years allowed us to remodel and update the units and increase the rents. Because this is exactly what a lender will look for in order to be able to refinance or give you a loan. These loans are based on the property's performance. And so by the remodel, by updating and increasing rents, that automatically increased the value of the property. And I would say that I probably did about 50% of the repairs or the updates, remodels and updates. I did about 50% of it. And so by year 2, when we were ready to refinance, my property appraised at $1.6 million. So it had really almost doubled. And we, at that time, refinanced. We got a loan for $1 million. I was able to get back my initial investment plus whatever money I had put into this property. So as of today, we really have zero invested of our own money in this property. And according to today's value, this property is worth $2.7 million. So we did really well. You know, I didn't think that this was going to happen, but it did, you know, and going back 6 years ago, when I decided to purchase in Texas, it really was more for cash flow. That's what I was looking at. I didn't think that the value of the property would appreciate as much as it's done, like it does here in California. I just thought, okay, it's a slower appreciation, but as long as this property's cash flowing and we're doing improvements and we're increasing rent, then we're good. Well, it turned out to be a home run, and today it's quadrupled in value. So I'm really, really happy, and it's worked out well. And obviously, trying to do this again, either with multifamily or commercial retail is something that I'm also looking into at this time. So here's the building. There's actually 2 buildings. It's there's 24 units that are 1 bedroom, 1 bath. And then we have this building here that's townhome style. It's 2 bedrooms and 1.5 bath. And they have a small patio in the back. All right, any questions before, let me go back here. Any questions so far before we dive into a little bit more stuff about managing property? Now remember, guys, I need questions. I need you guys to interact with me because I only have so much information, and if you guys ask questions, then I can for sure help out, and we can make this a two-way thing. All right, so please make sure to ask questions. Don't be shy. So we're all good. Okay, we're moving on. So here we go. Today I wanted to talk about managing your own multifamily property, and that's one of the things that I'm doing. For us, 34 units is a small number. I know it may not sound like a small number, but it's a small number to have to pay a management company to run the property for you. So we chose to really just kind of put something together. And I think, and I'll explain that throughout this process, but I think right now, really, the most important thing in managing multifamily is choosing the right tenants. It really depends on how good that tenant is. And how do you do this? Well, you want to make sure, right? I mean, again, we can do all the screening we possibly can. It doesn't mean it's perfect, right? Things happen, right? Things definitely happen. but you do the best that you can in confirming all of these things and making sure that any tenant that you plan to put into this property, they've kind of gone through, you know, the check, that you've checked everything that you need off. And so just on like a more personal note, you know, you obviously, so let me back up. We decided we were gonna hire an on-site manager, and she works for us there. She lives there. We do some sort of concession with her rent. And we also have a handyman that lives on the property that we do a concession as well. So you know, their job, well, our manager's job was really to look at these tenants, right? Because we don't live out there. So she's our eyes. And number one is asking questions. Why are you moving? Right? You want to look for answers that really make sense. Like we need more space, or I'm changing jobs, or, you know, I like this neighborhood, or possibly we get a lot of referrals from other tenants in there. I have family that lives here or friends that live here. So all of that is those are good stuff, right? Have you ever been evicted? You want to ask those questions. And again, why are you asking this? Why are you going to put them through the ringer, right? Have them fill everything out, and then they've already been evicted from another place. That's always a red flag. So you ask these questions up front. You want to ask, what's your monthly income, right? You want, and just so that you guys know that income should be 2.5 to 3 times the rental rent, like whatever that rent amount is. And then, you know, you ask them if they're okay with, or you let them know that you're going to run a background check or a credit check. You let them know this up front so that if they have a problem, they can tell you, right? And you're not going to just run all this and then be surprised, and they're going to be surprised. So it's just best to work together with them and make sure that they understand that there's a process to this, that you're just not going to rent out the room or an apartment just because they know someone there. That just doesn't work. And believe me, we have had personal friends of either our manager and our handyman who say, like, if some, you know, a property is vacant or a unit is vacant, we're like, oh, I have a friend that they're ready to move in. And we're like, that doesn't work that way. They have to go through the process. They have to fill out an application. You know, but we want to talk to them. We want to ask these questions. They need, you know, we want to know, have they been evicted? And are there any, you know, we're going to run a background check or credit check, anything we should be aware of, right? You're communicating all this up front. Give me a second. We good so far? So regular maintenance of your rental property is key. You know, this keeps your tenants happy. This keeps them, it keeps, you know, they understand that someone is taking care of the property. It's not being abandoned. Managing multifamily apartment does require a little bit of work in what we call like collecting rent, paying, you know, your different vendors, or just operational costs. There's a lot that goes into it. And I think the most important thing is that as a landlord, you have that responsibility to make sure that your tenants live in inhabitable conditions. So when we purchased this property, it really was not in habitable conditions. This property was roach infested. You know, there were drug dealers on the property. I mean, it was a really scary little community. It was abandoned. I mean, the previous owner was just letting anybody in to cover, right, to cover some, for him to get something, or at least cover the mortgage. And you can't grow a multifamily that way. You really need to take care of it. And so one of the things that we did is we really went in and made some serious changes. We eliminated, we first of all, we started eliminating tenants that were not good for the community. We just knew they were trouble, and you know what, we're getting rid of them, and everyone got their notices. As we started going into the property, there were a lot of properties that did have mold, and we were remodeling bathrooms, I mean, everything. We were gutting the units. So everything was new kitchen, new kitchen cabinets, bathroom cabinets, flooring, paint, everything was brand new. Let's see, the other very important thing was pest control. This place was roach infested, so it took a while before it got clean. And then we were very strict. We had our manager inspect properties every 6 months to make sure that people weren't leaving food out or just leaving stuff out that would bring roaches, right? And little by little, they get used to it, because remember, a lot of these, very few remained. Almost everybody that's living in our complex, except for maybe a handful, are all new tenants. And so they came into newer condition property, right, where they're now paying even more on rent. So anyway, we repaired a lot of structural features there. We replaced roofs. We did fix appliances, new range, new fridge. We were putting that into the properties. And aside from complying with habitability laws, and property maintenance also helped keep your tenants comfortable and satisfied. And when they're happy, guess what? You're gonna have way fewer vacancies. So if you want to have if you want to purchase multifamily, it is very important that you are taking care of your property. And when your tenants see that, they like it and they stay there. And I'm telling you, they'll bring family, they'll bring friends to your complex. Any questions? Has anyone encountered this, or has anyone heard of anybody that's encountered stuff like this? Yes, go ahead, Patricia.
Well, hello, Annabelle. Hello,
Hi.
everyone that's on the call. So I want to just go back just a bit when it comes to the tenant screening process. Did you use any kind of systems to help you with that process? Or was that just old school? The person that was on site, you had a questionnaire, they fill that out and kind of do it the traditional route.
Yeah, no. So pretty much, let me go back to where were we at? So number one, obviously you meet them, you talk to them, you ask them all these questions. And then we have a management system, like a platform that we use, which is called Yardi. And that allows you to run credits, background checks. There's third-party companies that you can run background checks. And we did run background checks. We weren't just running credits. It's just safer. And we would let them know up front, we will be running a background check. Why did we tell them this? Just in case, if they knew that they were, something negative was going to show up, they would let us know up front, and it would save them, number one, it saves them money, because they have to pay for an app. There is an application fee that each person that applies for a apartment has to pay. Now, yeah, that's great income for us. I mean, we can charge, 100 people, but we really didn't want to do that. That's not our business. Our business is making sure we get the right tenant that qualifies and that, has no previous things on their credit or background, And that's what we want to do. So there are background check services that you can use to check the potential tenants' credit and background. I don't know if that answered
Okay.
your question.
Yes, it answered my question. And then my second question will be in terms of, okay, what is your, no, actually I have two questions now that I think about it. What is your thoughts about security deposit as opposed to a move-in fee when you have something as large as 34 doors? And then if your take is different if you're talking about residential.
So multifamily, we definitely collect a secure, like we do get a security deposit. It's minimal, it's enough to cover, you know, and I think this really depends on the size of the property. There's a lot of factors involved in this. And for us, it was really, okay, what's it gonna cost if, like, just worst case scenario, right? They do something drastic, what's it gonna cost us, you know, our cost. And so we have anywhere from like $300 to $500 deposit. I think for single family residents, it's very different. Usually it's the rental amount that you're gonna collect as well as your deposit.
Thank you for that.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So let's go back here. So generally, oh yeah, let's go back to here. So there are inspections that you will do on your property, you know, regularly. And this is, number one, this is really to make sure that you're in touch with what's going on the property, right? So your manager knows that they have a move-in inspection and they have a move-out inspection. Tenants know this as well. So they know that when they move in, hey, we walk through the property and we share with them exactly, you know, hey, this is the condition the house or the property is being given to you. And we expect that when you move out, that it's given to us in the same. If not, you know, they'll be responsible for certain whatever damages or wear and tear on the property. So so we have a move-in and a move-out inspection. Seasonal inspections. This is something that is done. We do this twice a year. We have our manager do her inspections, and we like for her to go into the properties. We like for her to, you know, take pictures, just document, update. And if she sees something that's not, you know, maybe to our liking, she'll notify the tenant and have them make those changes. And again, we're looking for more on like the cleanliness of the unit, because we know that some people are not as clean as others. And this is how we start getting roaches and we start getting insects and stuff. And so what we're trying to do is just trying to keep it at a minimum. So those inspections help. They know, they'll get a notification ahead of time, and they'll know that, hey, we're going to be inspecting your property on such and such date. And usually that'll give them a heads up of, okay, I better clean, I better keep things in order, right? Because the manager can give them a warning. If they inspect the property and something's not up to par, they're given a warning. And then drive-by inspections. We don't live in Texas. We're in California. We probably go twice a year, and we do our drive-by, and we also actually visit the property, and we will ask to see units when we're there. So we'll give the manager enough notice, and we'll tell her, you know, we want to see X, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, these units, have them ready, let them know, right? And we get to go and inspect and take a look at everything. Just to double check and make sure that, you know, they are doing a good job, because no matter what, You know, there's nothing like you as an owner taking care of a property than, and you know, than having someone else taking care of that property. We as owners probably have higher expectations, right? And we want things done better. So I mean, I'm a firm believer. I'm not there. She's doing a decent job. I'm happy. It's been going well for us for 6 years. Could it be better? Yeah, probably. I mean, I think we all can be better. And so every time we go, you know what, we'll implement something new, or we'll ask her to do something different to add to what she's doing. So let me break down the inspections. So your move-in inspection occurs prior to the tenant moving in. Okay, and really that inspection is for us to be able to document the property's condition with that tenant. And there, you know, there are forms that they sign that will notate the condition of the property, or if there's anything that's maybe not we don't want them to take the blame. Maybe, you know, there's something in there that we thought, okay, we don't need to fix it. It's fine. And we notate it on that move-in inspection. So at move out, when they immediately, this is when the tenant immediately moves out, we'll then check and we'll take a look at just the property to see if there's any like just damages exceeding the normal wear and tear. I mean, we normally cover wear and tear, but if it's like, you know, they broke a wall, or there's a hole in the wall, or they ruined the kitchen cabinets or drawers or the toilet. I mean, we're talking like just significant stuff. Then, you know what? They're going to be charged. We're going to charge them for that. Our seasonal inspection is really like maintenance stuff. We'll look at, you know, have them look at gutter, just the cleaning of the entire property. Trees, we don't have trees, but in some properties that you have trees, you know, you probably want to cut them down if they're like not in maybe visible or good. What you're trying to eliminate is just anything that could potentially be harm, and you know, someone could get harmed in for whatever way. And then, you know, the drive-by inspection, which just really is, it's important to do because it gives you an idea of, you know, what's going on in the property. If you see that the property has trash outside, you know, it doesn't look like some people are taking care of it, then you know that something's wrong. And then building, you know what, a good landlord-tenant relationship is very important. We have, oh yes, go ahead, William.
Actually, I didn't want to interrupt. I had several questions. One dealt with when you go into doing a move-in inspection, do you take pictures before they move in? And when you have them sign the conditions of what the property had, you know, when they're moving in, what it was, and attach your pictures to it?
Yes.
As opposed to taking pictures after they move out, and if it exceeds the normal wear and tear, that you can show proof that it was damaged and you need to collect your expenses. That's one of the questions.
Yes. So this management software that we use allows you to upload photos, all the paperwork, all the, you know, like their contract, all the forms, everything is stored in there. So if I open up the management program, the software program, and I say, okay, I want to look at unit 10, I'm able to see those original photos in there. And then at move out, it's easy because we can now compare, we could look at the condition. Now, what also helps is that we know, and our manager knows, how she turns in a property. So she tries to turn in the property as clean and turnkey as possible, so that when they vacate, they have to vacate it and leave it in that same condition. So we never really, we'll never rent it out in bad condition, or, I mean, that's just not our, we're not on that plan. We really, there's a move out. Well, we'll send someone in who will, if they have to paint, they will paint, they'll clean up the place. I mean, it's not gonna need new cabinets because we put new cabinets 6 years ago, so we're still good with that. But everything is touched up and look, I mean, it's turned in good condition.
Okay. When you say paint, not only afterwards to make sure it's right for the new tenant moving in, but when you do your seasonal inspection, if you think it's, do you do painting by season or when you're inspecting, or if there's a need to do it? Like, for instance, I know in housing projects in New York City, for instance, they have X amount of time that they're going to come in to do painting. And so they, you know, in 2 or 3 years, they will say, we need to come in to paint.
Right. So we don't paint seasonal. Our painting happens when the tenant moves out. When what we do, we also take advantage of that opportunity. If it's let's say an unremodeled unit, because there's still a few that are unremodeled. If it's one of those, then what we do is we take that opportunity that the tenant is vacating the property to go in there and update it completely. And now we have been able to, we can now increase the rent for that particular unit. We've updated it and we've increased the rent. So it's a win-win. I mean, we actually like it when tenants vacate properties that have not been fully remodeled.
Okay. And lastly, about the remodeling, when you say, when you basically add value property, did you have more issues because you said you gutted properties? When you saw the properties while you were inspected it in the beginning, did you calculate what you had to gut as opposed to finding?
You're gonna laugh when I tell you this, but when we purchased this property and we did our inspections, our budget was really for just updating and remodeling units and exterior paint and like cosmetic exterior stuff. We wanted it to, we wanted to make it look better. The day we closed escrow, I mean, I honestly feel like the previous owner was holding up the walls and everything on that property with gum, because the minute we closed escrow, everything happened. I mean, like, wow. Everything. I remember my husband and I being there, and we were just looking at each other like, okay, well, you know what? We knew what we were getting into, but this was not in our budget. There was a one of the buildings, the entire plumbing backed up completely. I mean, it was horrible. We're talking 24 units. No one can use a restroom. We were scrambling, running around, figuring out what are we going to do, because we had no idea. First of all, that was not in our budget, and that was not something that was really disclosed to us. And in the inspections that we did for that particular thing, I don't recall us doing an inspection of like the what do you call that area? The plumbing part of the building. So anyway, we had closed escrow. I couldn't go back to the owner really. It was our responsibility, and we had to take care of that. And then and that was like an extra probably 20 grand that we spent. We had to, because it was a matter of like, okay, you need to take care of this now. It ended up costing us like another $20,000. And then right after, the boiler chiller, we have a chiller in Texas, that broke. And that was another $40,000. So those were things that we did not budget for, but we had enough, you know, we did go in with enough money to repair. And I think what happened is when these big ticket items came up, well, that means there's less doors that you, or less units that you can update, right? And I mean, it's just, again, you know, we didn't know what we were doing, right? We were going through this. This was our first big building, and we had an idea of the things that we wanted to do. But you know what? At the end of the day, it just doesn't happen that way. That's why you do have to be prepared financially, and we had a good amount of money put aside for repairs.
So do you suggest the fact that not only in inspections, but also having an engineer to come in as well?
Yes, you know, I think it depends on the size of the property. If it's, because those inspection reports, they're not cheap. And again, we also had background. So remember, I mean, if you know, this is, everybody's different, right? For me, I was used to flipping, remodeling. I was used to doing all that. We weren't really afraid of stuff. We knew, okay, fine, it's going to cost us a little more, but whatever. We figured a way to make it happen. I think that just in general, anyone that's going to go out and purchase something, you always have to prepare for the worst. And I know I've said this before on other talks. You have to prepare for the worst. You can't go in just expecting to do just certain things and that's it, because it just doesn't work that way. We were not able to maybe fix, you know, at that time, maybe we wanted to go in and fix 10 units. Well, we weren't able to do that. Now we were able to fix 5, right? Because we have to take the funds that we were going to use for those properties to now pay for a new chiller, or to now pay for the plumbing, right? The drain. And it was just, that was for my property. And I think that anyone that's going to look to invest in multifamily, you have to have sufficient money there for this project to work. I mean, if I would have gone in with just bare minimum, like for example, my deposit, and then maybe just a little money extra there, and had the idea that I would be remodeling with my cash flow, it doesn't work that way. You really have to have the money to back it up so that your property can continue to cash flow. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
No, my pleasure. Yeah, it's not easy, you know. I think it's a challenge. I mean, it's a fun challenge. I liked it. It was hard, and I think that anything good in life it takes work, and multifamily definitely is very rewarding. But while you're going through that process and those initial stages, you know, it's going to require a lot of work and money, right? Because we knew, I mean, just think about it. We knew going in that these properties were not in good condition. And we knew we were going to have to spend, we had budgeted, I want to say about $6,000 per door to remodel. And then these big things happen while you're in the process of it. Well, then you have to deviate, and you're gonna have to do, you know, those repairs are gonna have to wait, because they're not as necessary as a chiller, or like replacing a roof, right? Or foundation problem. I mean, we've had all of that. We've had foundation problem there as well. So I don't know. I mean, it's just number one, and this is critical. It's really building a good landlord-tenant relationship. And when they know that you care, you know what, they'll put a little bit more care as well. And really, I think at the end of the day, I mean, you're gonna make your cash flow. right? And your tenants are going, if we go back to those 4 points that I had mentioned, why we had invested, it was, we were looking for cash flow. We were looking for the tenants to pay down our loan, which is happening, and then appreciation. Critical, very, very, very important. And then nurturing good relationships with your tenant keeps your tenants there, right? You will have less turnover. And to be honest with you, we have a waiting list. Our turnover is very minimal, which is a good thing to have. Good, very good thing. And then just, I think the most important thing in becoming successful as a real estate investor is finding the right property. And it isn't, believe me, it is overwhelming. It's hard at the beginning because there's just so many moving points, moving parts to this process. And if you feel that maybe you can't manage this on your own, or you don't have that one or that, that 1 or 2 people that can help you, then you really want to consider hiring a multi-property management company that's near this property, right? That's going to be able to take care of it. So any questions? Let's talk a little bit. Oops, let me stop sharing here. Let's just talk a little bit about, like, how does this apply to you guys? What do you guys think? Or maybe you have clients, or maybe you have friends that are going through this right now. What are your thoughts? Go ahead. It's open forum, so.
Okay, so my thoughts are this when it comes to real estate investing. And again, I'm very new to this and something that I want to dive into. Doing my research, it's just so many different strategies that one could go into. And then there's so many methods aside from that. So for me, initially, I wanted to kind of understand what those strategies look like and some of those methods to execute those strategies. Now I'm trying to hone in on which strategy will work best for me, which one I can dedicate more time to, and then applying the right method to that strategy.
Right. And honestly, Patricia, I am a firm believer that until you're in it and doing it, you're not going to learn it.
I agree.
We can get all the, strategies and all the different methods of doing it. Every property is different. And until you actually do it, I mean, I didn't own 34 units. We went in, I have real estate experience. I have, flipping and rehabbing experience. I have all that experience, but it was different than owning and running 34 units. So we went in there and, like, you just use as much common sense as well for a lot of this stuff. And yes, you connect, right, with possibly either other multifamily owners, or if you're a real estate agent, or of a real estate agent that understands this, you connect and you learn and you ask questions, and like, what softwares are you using, right? Or what are the processes in when you're going to hire, or you're going to bring in a tenant, like, what do we do? So yes, you want to ask those questions, but believe me, you're going to learn once you actually go out and purchase your own property. Whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4 units, it's every property has its uniqueness, and they're just all different.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And another thing that I'm hearing, no matter if I'm listening to a podcast or if I'm reading an article or a webinar, a workshop, each individual who is giving that particular message, they say the exact same thing, where you have to find the right one. And some would even go as far as stating that each property could potentially be a home run. You just got to figure out what that is.
Exactly. Exactly. And you know how you figure it out is by actually being in it. And as you're doing your repairs or whatever it is that you plan to do, you'll start seeing like it just starts opening up paths that you weren't even really looking at. I mean, I can tell you our coming into this property and being aggressive in remodeling it and making sure that we put good quality tenants in there has brought up the value of the property and also the ability for us to continue to increase rents. So we know we have a property, we have not fully maxed out. We have way a good amount of room there to continue to increase rents. And that's because we've been taking care of the property. There's, good tenants in there, good manager. We, problems are, if anything comes up, we try to resolve them as soon as possible. I mean, they're not neglected, and that's what you want.
Absolutely. So can you share, and this may look a little different for you because you are in this field already, but could you share some of the systems you have used or you do use in terms of running the numbers on some properties that one will come across to see if the numbers make sense prior to going into any given property, or if one is interested in looking at purchasing, does the number make sense?
Right. So we have a software that we use. It's called Yardi. And Yardi will produce any kind of document that you want
Okay.
or that anybody wants. So it'll produce a rent roll, it'll produce a trailing 12 like the last month. I mean, it'll produce any kind of reports that we need.
Got it. Wonderful. Thank you.
No, my pleasure. Yes, William.
Oh, I didn't take my hand down. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No. It's okay. It's okay. Well, if you don't have any more questions, I am here every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Pacific time. And we are talking about, pretty much the 8 steps that I took in purchasing my property. And in hopes that, at least I'll share with you my story and what we went through and what I've done. And really in hopes that you guys can also take from this and kind of put it into your bucket, right? Of suggestions or ideas. And again, remember, every property is different. There isn't a blueprint that we follow for, the exact same steps. But the overall, if you have a general idea of what you're going to do, and you have a general idea of the cost that you're going to spend, that I think is like the most important thing. And then you just go for it. And once you're in it, there's that saying, it's like, what is it, sink or swim? You're going to swim. We're not going to lose our money. We're not going to lose our property. We'll figure it out. And so with that, I say goodbye. I will see you guys next week. Actually, I may or may not be here next week, but I'll have a call, and it'll be a very good call. So don't miss it. And the following week, I am planning to have actually 2 weeks from now, I have a guest speaker who will be joining us, and will be speaking. She owns, I want to say thousands of doors. And I think it's going to be great for us to see, to hear someone's perspective of this multifamily world that has thousands of doors versus 34 doors, right?
You
So
said it's 2 weeks?
in 2 weeks, yes. So don't miss
Oh,
that.
I
And
will.
I
You'll have the
will-
recording.
yes, I'll have the recording, and
Okay.
just any questions, feel free to email me. If you guys need help in connecting me with someone, also feel free, because again, I am part of EXP. We're a company all throughout the US and international. And I can definitely connect you with a great colleague out in your area, if that's what you guys need. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining. Thank you very much. And I will see you guys next week.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Be
care.
safe. Be well.
Bye.
All righty. Take care. Bye-bye.